where should we start, Ruben?
Where do you want to start?
Let's start, actually, I'm going to start with the compressor, because I've known that you've been known to move its placement in the signal chain, and now I'm seeing two compressors. So let's start there. Why two compressors, and where are they sitting at in the signal chain?
Well, this is a tube compressor. I found out about this through Mike Baranick. He showed me, I can't remember who it was. He showed me this guitarist. He was like an Australian guy. And he was saying that it was a video where they were saying that it was like he was like an old guy. I shouldn't have. I've said too much. It was like acoustic music, right? And he was saying that when he recorded, he liked to use an LA2A. That's his favorite sound to put his acoustic guitar into, and so. And then he said he wanted something like that for live, so he wanted a tube compressor. So that was the logic. And then he found this thing. And I thought, He was like, yeah, this is the compressor I found that's done that. I was like, you've got a pedal that sounds like an LA2A? So I got this thing. It's the model PC2A from, what's this? I keep forgetting what this, Victrode, I think is the company.
Okay.
So I bought this thing, and just because that sounded really, I don't know, it's just like that would be crazy if it did what he likes about the LA2A.
Does it?
I think it's like, it sounds like a compressor, not a compressor pedal, if that makes sense. Yeah, so it's really good. The only thing is that I'd never really taken it on the road. So that's why there's two.
Oh, okay. So there's not some double magic front and back.
Yeah. No.
So where is that compressor sitting in the signal? Is it at the beginning or the end?
Actually at the very beginning, right?
I think it's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm hitting that first.
Okay.
In this version of the setup. Yeah. And you know, it's pretty you know, it's like. Yeah. It shaves off a little bit of the transient and it fattens things up. It's like a real compressor, you know. Not so much the effect, not so much that Nile Rodgers kind of like clipped kind of sound, but like a kind of fat sound.
Now,
So-
as we go through forward beyond the compressor here, how are they hitting the amps? Like, how are they? Is there a certain flow that's hitting each amp, or
Yeah.
is one only hitting the one amp, and the other amp is dry?
Okay, so I have so this is the channel down here.
Okay.
This is basically, to here is really all I'm running on the actual guitar as I play it. Then it goes into the Stamman Deco.
Okay.
And the Stamman has a stereo out, and Dave had been running my guitar stereo for quite a while, a few years, and I thought over pandemic, you know, leading up to coming back and getting back on the road, I thought I had time to do an idea that had been kind of like sitting in my head for a while, which is set up, you know, something from my end that contributes to this stereo thing, rather than just have my sound and then have him splitting it like at some point. I thought I could make that fruitier. And then so the Deco is cool because it's tape emulator. It has some like imperfections, and it sends out in a kind of chorusy way. So I have like two, you know, like a false double tracking kind of effect through that, and I have one side, you know, both sides are kind of have different movement, so they have a little bit of so when it goes out front of house, a completely different signals left and right, and that, you know, sounds good. And then I also have a bunch of these jam retro vibes, and I just, like, I don't know, I have a ton of them actually, just in case, you know.
Yeah.
like hoarding them kind of. And so I thought maybe before I split them out of the Deco into two different ones, two different retro vibes. The first one I bought and like the new one, and then have those kind of like also separately affecting the stereo signal. So yeah, so make it even more like stereo.
Distinct and like more swirly.
And then each one of these goes into a different Benson.
Okay.
And this one is also my monitor. So that points at me because we've been doing our amps on the sides for quite a long time now. And I still don't really understand why bands point their amps at the microphone.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's not. I feel like that's one thing that makes us
it's an uphill
front
battle.
of house guys dream is that we're not too loud on stage, and all of our amps are either pointing off the stage or from the side, like a monitor. Yeah, and yeah, that's it really.
Well, let's get back to the bottom row here real quick. Let's start with it has the tape on it, the gaff tape Octave Magic. So I assume that's one of your creations?
Yeah, this is kind of this is the only homemade one that's left in the chain at the moment. It's a Foxtoone machine that I made. It took a long time to get it right, so...
What was the toughest part?
Just component choices. It's like switching out transistors a lot. The transistors that I ended up using were I think the ones used in the original Moog modular synths, TIS or TI5, I think they're called. And I don't know, that was the thing that made it sound good. And then a bunch of like old resistors and things like that. You know, I'd sit there on the breadboard, just like pulling stuff out and putting other stuff in and just playing, and then pull it out and try a different thing.
So true R&D thing. It wasn't just like, I'm going to copy the schematic. You were trying to get to that tone, but then maybe sculpt a little bit more, or build something that was more unique to you?
Yeah, but I think a lot of builders do this too, but I just was, you know, I'd get like a bunch of stuff. Like I was pulling a lot of old components out of tape machines and things like that. Old record players, like I go junk shop and buy something that looked old and then just pull all the shit out of it. And then so I'd have like some new stuff and some old stuff, and then so I'd get the thing going. It would sound like a Foxtoone machine. Okay, it works, that's cool, and then start like putting different things in. And if something sounded good, I'd be like, whoa, that's it, cool, you know. And then move to the next component and start switching it out, you know, until it sounded good. So it was just trial and error and being really obsessed with it. But the thing that is weird is I just came up with a thing that's like exactly the thing I want. So it's like I haven't been able to replace that one yet.
Could we hear the thing?
Yeah, sure.
Super gnarly.
Yeah, it's loud. It's got a nice like clean octave, and it kind of cuts through. I don't know, it just works. I don't know. It just is what I want. So that's been the thing. A lot of friends that build pedals have given me octaves, and then they're really good. And then I just, you know, switch this thing out finally, or can replace this, and then because I worry about my pedals because sometimes they just stop working. Because I put some like component from a reel-to-reel that was just about to blow up, and it took 3 gigs in, it blows up, and it sounded cool while it was dying, but then it's like over So then that's been like, and then I started to get a bit weary about my own stuff. But this one has survived, so that's good. And
The Testament.
yeah, and it still sounds exactly like what I want it to sound like, and yeah, so that's why it's still there.
What's the nondescript pedal here in the far corner?
This is a Fuzz Face made by Jam.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's right.
This actually was this is a case of, I had a Fuzz Face that I really liked. One of my favorite Fuzz Faces that I built, I gave to a kid that supported us in Japan, because we were talking about fuzz pedals, and I was like, oh yeah, and he was like, oh, I like the pedals you build, and then I was like, oh yeah, well, next time I come back, I'll give you one of my Fuzz Faces. And then we came back and I forgot, but he was like, remember you said you were going to give it to me? And I was like, oh yeah. No, he was like, damn, I've only got one left. And I was like, oh, here you go, man. So I was like, I gave him my Fuzz Face, but
A man of your word.
But I actually, the thing about it was that I had this. This is better than the Fuzz Face that I had anyway. So that was cool, but because it was kind of fancy, it had a little picture of Jimi Hendrix's face on it that got kicked off on the first gig I used it on, and now it's covered in suede, and now that's getting all messed up. So I was a bit worried about that, but you should just destroy gear. It's meant to be destroyed in the line of duty, you know what I mean? So I like it. I realized I like it all messed up like this better than sitting perfect in my basement, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, that's a dorky thing to do, so I don't know why I even thought to not take it on the road. So now this is the best Fuzz Face I've ever used, and I think it's a limited edition version of the Fuzz Phrase, right? Is that?
I believe that's what
Fuzz Phrase.
Giannis calls it. Yeah, I could be wrong.
And it sounds really good. It's like that kind of thing. Just big woolly fuzz and not too exaggerated, very musical, fun to play, you know?
Yeah.
And you can also wind the volume back, and then it has that kind of sound of it's not starved in the sense that it's spitting, but a more mellow, old school kind of fuzz sound.
It's more versatile than just the sting, the set on 10 thing.
Yeah, it's a super usable thing. I use it on a lot of different stuff.
Now I see the Holy Grail that you haven't touched, the red light's been shooting up at me. Mm-hmm. Is that always on, the Holy Grail?
No, actually, these days I'm trying to turn it off as much as possible. But
okay.
I think I put it on because I was feeling insecure about playing by myself and on the camera.
It's a rather unorthodox thing we ask people to do here, because you create your sound to mesh with the whole band. Yeah. And so then we have you come up here like it's a NAMM demo, and like, hey, just show me this pedal.
I think I was hiding behind the reverb a little bit for that, but yeah.
So you got two delays. Obviously, the talk back or the back talk is the reverse, and then how are you using the DD3?
Well, it's in some ways this is just this is a gift from Mike Baranick that I just kind of put on there it kind of loops. I use it as a short loop.
Okay.
Sometimes when we're jamming, I just use it, but it's just a cool thing. I get sentimental about things like that. It's on the board at the moment because Mike has been such a big help on this
seems like
tour
a good
cycle.
Dude.
He's good. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Well, the two remaining things, as I know that we got to get out of here for sound check and everything else that happens after we leave, is the Game Changer and the Benson preamp. So how are you using those two individual pedals?
Well, this is a kind of a clean boost, the germanium boost that Chris makes. I don't know if it's out yet. I think it should be out now.
Just to kind of push the amps a little bit.
Yeah, just trying to get into things that I've read about since I was a teenager that I always was. I was just a little bit too much of a savage to take seriously, clean boost, things like that, headroom, all these things that you read about. That when you're 16 you think what is that? Who cares about that? Clean boost? I don't want a clean boost. I want a distortion pedal. So it's there to run me out of headroom, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, just basically
get you out of the end of the runway.
Yeah, just just get me out of to take some of the subtlety away from the sound. It doesn't really. It's nice. It doesn't distort or really color the sound in a way that's like over the top or anything. But it comes in handy a lot as a functional thing. Sometimes it's the answer to the problem. I just like kick it on, and it's like, okay, that's something's wrong, and I kick that on, and it makes it louder, and the whole gain structure changes, and it's set to be in a place that's just like, maybe this is the problem. You know, maybe this will work better.
This is the solution.
Yeah.
And how are you using the sustain pedal from Game Changer Audio?
I use this a lot on a lot of different things. I'll use it for the tail of a solo sometimes when I need a second and a half to go from lead guitar overdub to rhythm guitar track that's underneath, you know? So so that I'm not going like solo, turn the pedal off and I'm playing the song again. Sometimes I'll trail the solo so that it sounds like one guy was, you know, guitar, and then he goes steps back, and then the rhythm guitarist, like, you can hear him again. So I use it for that a lot, and then I use it a lot for like jamming, making droning sounds, and a lot of scary kind of things that just keep going, you know, notes that sustain. Sometimes I'll play kind of thing where it's just like I'll play a line and hold on to the last note while I play the next line, and then hold on to that again, and stuff like that. And then and also I if I want the guitar to just ring out the last note that I played and put the guitar down and like walk off the stage, or you know, like when it's like tequila time, then I just like leave it ringing, and I can do that as well with this thing, because I can make the tail infinite. I just switch the tail to infinite, kick it on, leave it, and then turn it off when I get back on stage. And yeah, that's so it's another one of those pedals that's like it's a very simple concept, so everybody's not going to use it in the same way. And I always like the concept of the freeze pedal as a thing, the idea of like sustaining, but that has a very like cold digital kind of like, the artifacts in it are very specific, and I never liked that. Whereas this is more like a taking a concept like that and turning it into like a sustain pedal on a piano, and they have the actual like foot pedal that like kind of tells you how to use it a little bit, and it doesn't feel like a digital looping thing or something like that. It feels like what it looks like. It's like a sustain pedal for your guitar, so it's super musical. Hasn't let me down at all. It's really cool.
Well, I did a false ending here. There is one remaining pedal in the top left that we have not covered. So I got to know about this before, otherwise I'm not doing my job, Ruben. So what's the top left? Mystery box.
I can't remember what
problem is that solving?
that was.
Okay.
That was a rat or a what's the green overdrive?
Tube Screamer?
Tube Screamer. It's one of the two. I can't remember exactly. And it has like a lot of different settings in it. And
is that one of your creations?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think I based it on a BYOB or something, one of those kits.
Yeah.
But I did the thing that I did with the Foxtoone, where it's like I didn't really use the components it came with. I kind of like set it up and then replaced all the components, and it sounds good, but I've taken it out of the chain, so it's not.
Got it. Oh yeah.
Jake used it for a long time, which makes me think it's probably a rat, because of I know a lot of bass players that play rats. There must be something about the bass frequencies or something. So it's cool, but I thought it might be there in case I needed another lead tone, I think. But it's also like a janky thing. It gives us trouble because I made it myself. So that's why it's good that there's a lot of people that make good pedals, so I don't have to make all my